Joe Rogan is on a roll. First, he has some paranormal YouTubers who are like ghost hunters. Then he has Sonny from the Best Ever Food Review Show. Now he has these guys, Jimmy Corsetti and his friend Ben, coming in to talk about ancient Egypt and the possible discovery of Atlantis. This episode is great. We're setting at about an hour, 8 minutes, 1 second. Let's get into this clip. Coach Colin here, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want the absolute best insights to the podcasts and videos you love, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
And to work at the scale that some of this stuff is worked in, they see it immediately and they just dismiss the idea that this was done with literally pounding stones and, copper chisels. It's a funny thing. They insist those things are how they were done, but not once, no one ever has cut a single big slab of granite the size of a refrigerator in half. We've never gone that far. No one's demonstrated that, yep, you can take a copper bar and sand and grind your way through a refrigerator-sized block.
And you're saying copper because we think that they didn't have steel back then.
They didn't. Well, they didn't, and not until later. There's no evidence for it. There's evidence for copper and bronze.
There's no evidence for it when we're talking about 2500 BC.
Exactly.
Now, if there was some sort of very sophisticated civilization that was tens of thousands of years before that, and they were wiped out, and then you're leaving behind these artifacts, and then people are claiming them as their own, and then trying to copy them.
Imitation was a huge part of it, and we even see that. You go to the Egyptian Museum, and there's these beautiful igneous stone vases made of granite, and right next to them, in the same display, because they're found in the same place, there's a rough pottery vase that's not even turned, just put together by hand, and they've painted it with dots to make it look like granite, and it's shaped the same way as the granite vase. That's pure imitation. Like this here. I love this. This is one of my favorite examples. And this is like either first dynasty or pre-dynastic. But yeah, you have a hard igneous stone vessel made with perfection, and right next to what's clearly an imitation of it, made from pottery, and they've even dotted it up to make it look like granite.
All the most sophisticated artifacts, pyramids, everything are all the oldest. It gets worse as it goes on, and that's not supposed to make sense. And when last time I was on with you, Joe, I was trying to articulate a point, which was that there was, a middle kingdom, there was the first kingdom, there was and there was these periods of revolt and revolution and missing history within Egypt, and there's 3 different kingdoms, and one of which was 126 years of lost history, another was over 200 years. And the one point to mention about that is that means that whoever took over and reestablished themselves, there's now no one alive at that period of time that was around prior to whatever it is that reset them, that government or whatever they were. Yeah. So if there's 126 years of lost history, no one is now alive to say what was what before that year one of 126 years, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's 3,000 years. Like the dynastic Egyptian civilization itself is 3,000 years old. Now, they do trace that back 30+ thousand years. They describe a time, Zep Tepi, when the gods walked the earth. They literally talk about these magical abilities that you could interpret as technology. And then after that, there was the Shemsu Hor, the followers of Horus, these semi-divine mystical beings. And they have a list of kings and rulers that go back into that time. It's only in our interpretation and our archaeologists that really say, well, you know what, that's just myth and legend. And after that, we start Dynasty 1, King 1. That's actually history.
But what is their justification? Like, why do they say that it's just myth and legend? Like, where are they getting this information from? Well, why are they making these?
Well, because civilization can't exist until 6,000 years ago. It says it right here, Joe. Memorize it.
But once they see Göbekli Tepe, don't they kind of have to
They should
formulate?
They refuse. They say they're primitive.
They say Göbekli Tepe was created by. They changed it, and it literally happened. I saw this argument being made when Michael Sherman was here with Graham and Randall. They say it's made by hunter-gatherers. They literally changed the definition of what it means to be a hunter-gatherer, rather than move that precious date of civilization starting from 6,000 years ago to 10,000 years ago with Göbekli Tepe. And
the thing about this clip that stood out to me the most is when they started talking about the gods and how there's these gods that walk the earth, and then how there's nobody around from that time. Like those people came, like Graham Hancock calls these people who came into the civilization as like squatters. They just came and they claimed these things for their own. And then there was no one around from the time of when these artifacts were made to when the people came in and started claiming them as their own. And it really makes me think. And then they were talking about gods. And this is how it connects for me. This is the weirdness that goes on in my head. It's like, what would happen if we got wiped out? Let's say we got wiped out. But let's say before we got wiped out, there was a bunch of very elite rich people who merged with AI on a high level, who had no problem, exchanging out most of their body parts and things like that for, robotics and stuff like that. And then these people went into space, right? Because they knew something was going to happen with the planet. I write movies in my head. This is like a movie. They go into space because they know something's going to happen with the planet. They stay in space. They have enough resources. They don't really need resources anymore because they've merged with AI to such an extent that they don't even need food anymore. They just kind of need some kind of, I don't know, oil, serum. I don't know. But imagine that. And then everything gets wiped out. They come back. People have essentially been knocked back to like the Stone Age, right? A few generations go by. Anybody who remembers what happened is now dead. Now they just have stories. And then all of a sudden these rich elite people come back. Wouldn't they be regarded as gods? You know what I mean? Like if right now, let's just say somehow you and I went back to the 1600s and we went there with a car. Or we went there with not even a car. We went there with drones, like those big drones that we could ride. We went there with those drones. We went with our phones. We had laser pointers. We just had all the gadgets. We had little drones that would fly around. We had LSD. Like we just had a bunch of wild stuff. And we went into that time and we flew down on these drones. They would be like, these guys are gods. They would be like, God has ascended from the heavens. Right? They would be like, look at these guys. They came flying. They came on flying chariots down from the sky. And then they put little pieces of paper on Jebediah's tongue. And Jebediah saw all sorts of spirits and realms. And he was never the same again. He became awakened after they did this to him. And then they had little tablets where they went do, 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 do. And they could show us anything on the tablets. And they played our past and our future on these tablets. We'd be gods. We'd be ever immortalized in their history. They'd be like, these were the guys that came down. Skin of bronze. Bald as ever. Because I'm bald under here. You know what I mean? They would really see it that way. It really makes me think like when these past civilizations talk about these gods and deities and these powerful mystical beings that were like amongst them, like, is it possible that they just got wiped out? There was a super advanced society. Everybody got knocked out except for a few people in that super advanced society who came back and then were regarded as gods. And that's why they sat around helping us. That's why we have the legend of Thoth. And Thoth came and showed us writing, because it's not like he created writing. He was just like, well, they forgot everything. They don't even know anything, so I got to show them writing. And he really just merged with AI to an incredible extent. And then every so often they would just fly away. They would just go away to wherever and travel the cosmos. I don't know. Like, these type of episodes make me, like, these mentions in history make me think so much. Like, have you ever looked into Brahma and Shiva and like Vishnu? Have you ever looked into what they did? Like there's certain people, and obviously they're probably independent researchers like these guys, and you can take that as you will. But they're starting to see that there were signs of like nuclear war, like the Hindu Sanskrits. They have these tellings of these stories that really, if you really interpret it a certain way, it seems like nuclear war. They had these abilities to shoot off these bomb-like explosions. Like, what is all that? It just really makes you think. Like, and when they bring up Graham Hancock or these guys bring up the fact that there was probably lost civilizations I can't help but think it's true, because that's what would happen. If you were super advanced, everything got destroyed, there was a few people left, and you came back, you'd be a god. With the level of knowledge that you would have and the gadgets that you would have. And again, AI, this is not AI's first time coming about, and you're merged with AI. Let's just put it to you. You're merged with AI. You're merged with robotics and AI to the point that you have rockets in your feet and you can fly on command. You would be a god to these people. You'd be nothing short of being a god. You have some molecular thing that can like make food or turn water to wine. Like, you just have abilities out of nowhere. People would be like, you're a deity. You know what I mean? Think about it. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, all those super crazy rich people out in Dubai. All of them merge with AI and robotics, and they don't need food or anything anymore. And they go up into space, and we get smashed by comets left and right. And now there's only 7,000 of us left. And the generation that remembers the comets hitting dies. They come back, they're gods. Like, what else would you consider them? You consider them gods. I don't know, man. These oh, come on. Come on. This happens, guys. All right, there we go. But yeah, you'd consider them gods. So I love this episode. Definitely go check it out. It's 1928. It's so good. Anytime Jimmy Corsetti's on, he's an independent researcher, but he has such an interesting background because he's also an ex-soldier. I believe he served in Iraq. So it's like he doesn't seem like a soldier, but he is. And then he's also this independent researcher, and he's also a prepper to a certain extent. And he has an undisclosed amount of ammo and guns that he keeps with him in case everything really goes left in the U.S. I don't know. Wild guy, wild episode. Definitely makes Joe Rogan tap into that part of himself that we all love, where he is just exploring ideas. He's not fact checking these guys. He's not trying to keep them in check. He's just letting the ideas fly. You're going to love it. Watch this episode. Link in the description. Peace.